So lots of talk surrounding Radamel Falcao right now. We touched on it in Transfer Bonanza, but we wanted to do it properly in this video. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to use the Full-Time Devils Falcao dossier, that's this, to work out what's been said, what hasn't been said, what's true, what isn't, and see if we can work out what we think is going on. So this all sort of kicked off because Falcao wasn't in the 18-man squad to play against Southampton. Van Gaal came out and said this. I'll tell you what he said. I've got it written down. He basically said that as a coach, you take decisions and you have to look at the composition of your team and your selection, and you have to look at your game plan. Therefore, he had to decide that he's out of the 18 because he would have to change, for example, Shaw and Di Maria. So what he's saying is he knows he's going to have to take Shaw off. He knows he's going to have to take Di Maria off because they're both players coming out of sort of injury. So who else does he have to change? Does he need Falcao there? That is perhaps his argument. So what's happened is he's playing Wilson potentially ahead of Falcao. But we had 3 defenders on the bench, didn't we? It's not crystal clear, but you can sort of understand why he's saying, well, look, 2 of these substitutions have to be made. But when you think we're chasing the game, as it turned out, we were chasing the game and you're throwing on the likes of Fellaini, he's not going to be that man who turns it around and wins you the match. More likely, someone like Radamel Falcao can do because he's a goal scorer. That's not to have a go at Fellaini. He's got his merits, absolutely. So that's what he's been saying. What has Radamel Falcao said? I will tell you. Before the game, he said, I'm good and his family are comfortable and that he's having a great time in Manchester. He's really made a real nice sort of bit of talk about his teammates. He said they've been really good and explained why his celebrations are so passionate because for him, each goal means a lot as he puts so much effort and hard work into getting to that point to score the goal. So that's nice. He's enjoying himself. After the game, with all the talk going on, what he did was he retweeted a journalist who said this. I'll tell you. He said, to clarify, Falcao was at Old Trafford on Sunday at a party which I attended. Even he was with Van Gaal in the tunnel after the game. Furthermore, Van Gaal had ratified it in the press conference and I ratified it personally. It is necessary to filter what is said and written here. Falcao retweeted that, I guess, proving that he was at the game. He didn't storm off because that had been reported. It had also been claimed that perhaps his wife had given birth and that was a reason he left. Obviously, none of that is true. It would appear he was just dropped. But that does seem strange because although he's had injury problems and stuff, his form hasn't been dreadful. Like Robin van Persie, not to have a go at anybody, is apparently undroppable. And against Stoke, Van Persie had something like 3 times less touches of the ball as Falcao. Falcao scored, and it was Falcao who came off with half an hour to go. So Van Persie seems to be the player who is going to play every time, and how Falcao fits into that is I guess, what's happening here. Robin van Persie fits into Louis van Gaal's philosophy and he's the player he wants on the pitch, which is why it's him. So it's now coming down to whether or not we're playing Falcao or James Wilson. That would appear to be the case. Do they either start or do they sit on the bench? Apparently, there isn't room for both in Louis van Gaal's philosophy and his team, which does make you wonder whether or not Falcao will stay at the end of the season. This is what his agent, George Mendes, says. I don't know, so that's handy. He's a fantastic player, and I don't think it's very difficult and I think it is very difficult for Manchester United fans. They've got a world-class player who would play 90 minutes in any other team, and what he says is this: I don't know where he'll be next year, but he will definitely be at one of the best teams in the world. I'm 100% of that, but you know how football works. We need to wait and see whether or not that is Manchester United. So he might be here, but I mean, at the start of this loan deal, we were hearing a lot of Falcao wants to stay, he wants to stay, he wants to be at Manchester United. That isn't happening so much now. We're hearing more, well, he could be anywhere. I mean, there was talk of Juventus. Mendes, in particular, was actually mentioning Juventus and saying Juventus were interested in the summer. Falcao has a lot of respect for Juventus in the Italian league. Maybe he'll be there next year. Like, there are games being played. Things aren't black and white. It's definitely not a case of just a player's been dropped. Hopefully he'll be all right with that. He'll be back in the team. Because to a certain extent, Falcao hasn't turned up to be any other player at Manchester United. If Wayne Rooney was left out of the 18-man squad, questions would be asked in the media, and that's what's happening with Falcao, because you're talking about a player, despite coming back from injury, who has a reputation as one of the best on earth. When Messi was dropped just to the bench the other day for Barcelona, everybody lost their minds. He's going to Chelsea, he's going to Man United, he's going to Paris Saint-Germain, and people were working out who can actually afford him. This is why this is all kicking off. Give us your opinion, let us know. It's quite difficult to work out because we don't have all the facts. There's stuff happening behind closed doors that we'll never know. But for now, it does just appear to be that Louis van Gaal didn't want him in the 18. Let us know your opinions on Falcao. Do you want him to stay? Do you want him to go? Do you think if he's given time, he will find his proper form and his true self? Or has he been injured and that's the end of it? Let us know. Subscribe to Full Time Devils. Have a great day. Like the video, I suppose.